It goes to the very essence of why we climb. There's a correlation between risk and reward, and the closer you get to the edge, the more it ignites every fiber of your being. Nothing makes you feel more alive. But it's also this double-edged sword. How close to the edge are you willing to go?
It's worth it for that one move.
Climbers assess objective hazard all the time, whether it's an alpinist racing up a slope under a serac, or an offwidth climber inverting under a giant, seemingly detached block.
I mean, people like doing inverts, but they don't like doing inverts 200 feet off the ground under massive loose blocks that are apparently levitating in space.
You invert out of a full body stem chimney off of a hand stack, and you pivot into an arm bar, which is about as terrible as it gets. It's awesome.
The type of inversion I do is an evolution of a technique referred to as levitation, developed by Randy Levitt and Tony Yaniro.
Back in probably 1977, we found these roof cracks, and they were 45-foot long roof cracks that were basically the joist of these giant cement pillars that hold up this garage. So we'd climbed all these cracks, and what remained was this offwidth crack. And we realized that it wasn't a chicken wingable offwidth in the normal sense, and it was a roof. And the only way we could actually hang in there was to put one hand jam on top of another. And you realize, well, you're gonna have to stick a leg in there and somehow hang from it. The perfect levitation crack is basically whatever your knee size is, and then as it gets wider, at some point none of your body parts will hold you in there as you move your hands up. And that's where you have to do an invert move. And that's where Pamela has really excelled, is she's brought that to a whole new level.
The beginning of the pitch is 25 feet of strenuous offwidth climbing to an airy mantle into the base of the chimney.
The move getting into the base of the chimney is unprotected, and you have to pull on and mantle onto a detached block that probably weighs 800 pounds. Every time I come back from climbing with Pam, my girlfriend's like, I'm still alive, so.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to take that up. There you go. How's that? That's what you stuck in the crack.
The full body stem chimney that you crawl out of is, it's just like a straight V to the back. And it is the exact same shape as the mental block. Basically, the whole reason that the chimney is there is because blocks just like the mental block all fell out. And when you invert around on top of the mental block, the rock doesn't get better. It actually, you get a series of smaller, more hollow sounding, more on their way out blocks. The climb basically climbs a series of completely detached features.
So I knew it would be technically really challenging, and that it would just scare the shit out of me. I mean, how couldn't it? Getting up under the roof was so terrifying that we started referring to the giant block as the mental block, which it is. I mean, you just come to a standstill under that thing and look up. You're like, that's such a bad idea.
In terms of the mental block, the base of the thing is what? It's 6 by 12 by a half. That's the area of the triangle, roughly. So it's 100 pounds per cubic foot times 1,000 cubic feet. That's 100,000 pounds.
So you can look way back in there, but there's nothing holding it to the wall. So it's kind of disturbing.
Okay, I'm gonna clip this.
If you fall on it, we say shock, but it's not really. Physicists always blanch when people say shock, because a shock is a very different thing. It's mostly an impulse loading, and if you do it in the right place, you could probably displace the block.
We've decided that it's really dangerous to place Pro behind the mental block. If you fall, it could shift the block and kill everybody.
Oh, God. Getting a little crappy here.
Did bolt on lead, but I did put a 9-inch cam and a 6-inch cam behind the mental block, but it was super gripped. I didn't want any slack in the rope because I didn't want to take a fall onto them, and I didn't want to weight them.
Can't watch me.
So that's why I'm in this incredibly awkward, uncomfortable stance. And as soon as I got the bolt in, I immediately unclipped the cams, and really big sense of relief there.
Down a little to get over to it.
What about people who think there shouldn't be any bolts up there?
They can go climb it and not clip them, and get back to us if they can.
Okay, I'm gonna clip that.
Established a route a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, in Vidvu, Wyoming, called the Forever War, of 60-degree leaning, overhanging offwidth roof. Before there were any bolts, I did take a fall on it. I ended up having 2 surgeries on my kidney. So that's why I decided to bolt the route. When you do this invert style, you cannot place gear in front of yourself because you block your own path. And if you place gear behind yourself, when you fall, you come right back out and you hit your head. You know, I was lucky I didn't die, and I did not want future climbers to take that fall. There's been a lot of pressure on me to not bolt routes. In this case, I've been, pushing myself pretty hard to meet those expectations and ended up in the hospital. I put in a bolt just above the lip of the roof because that's the bolt that's protecting the backwards, upside down back of the head fall. And I like to place bolts for that kind of more average climber because I'm 5'3", so when I went to clip my own bolt and realized I couldn't reach it, I was a little upset about that. I was a little pissed at myself.
Oh, I don't have the draw on me.
Oh God, I'm just too short. I clip it anyway, I guess. Oh shit. Come on, fuck's sake. I found this really cool carabiner. Some probably will say this is aid, but I think it's actually magic of itself.
So you're climbing a difficult 513 invert off width, second pitch, huge exposure, objective hazard, and the key to the send is a carabiner?
Yes, the key to this, it's like dark arts, the key to the 513 pivot. This one little carabiner.
I'm gonna clip. Clipped. Turn it.
Come on. So sick.
The top runout's probably another 40 or so feet. I might put a piece of pro in, but it'll be psychological pro, really. Little slack there.
Oh God.
I'm definitely going to be relieved to have put this 5-year epic behind me. Clipping? Oh, thank fucking God. Oh. Woo. Really glad I didn't die on that. Fuck, dude. Thank God. I was like really had this horrible sense of impending doom. There might have been a dragon in there. Yes, I conquered the mental block. How much you guys want to bet it falls off when we wrap down?
When I go to bed at night and I'm in my comfortable house in San Diego, that I know that out there in the desert somewhere is Pamela Shanti Pack, like thrashing up and off with, and she's kind of carrying the torch of that suffering. And it's nice to know that someone's doing it and it doesn't have to be me.
That pivot was so incredible, and it feels so amazing when you do it. That pivot, and there's a route in Vue de Vue called 8 Ounces to Freedom. It's these moments of absolute biomechanical perfection that make all of that risk and training worth it. So there's been 2 seconds of my life I've been really psyched.
You gotta grab that luce. You gotta bust that thing. Get your kicks on the street. Gotta kick, clack, step back. Oh, you gots to skeet. It's a rat-a-tat-a, 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 bala. Rat-a-tat-a, 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 holla. I don't wanna be pushed like I do the pushing. When it comes to the cheddar, keep it under the cushion. I don't wanna be ganked like I do the ganking. When it comes to the cake, be me you thinking. I don't wanna be pushed like I do the pushing. When it comes to the cheddar, keep it under the cushion. I don't wanna be ganked like I do the ganking.